by thanking Ava for so selflessly staying up into her evenings and staying with us and holding our hands through thick and through thin and through panics and as well as calm times. And
we have calm times?
We have calm times whenever we have interesting guests. So this will be a very calm evening because we let them worry about what they're going to say. And we don't have to worry about what we might have to come up with at the last moment, particularly when our guests bring PowerPoint slides, which is always a good sign. Next, after we've thanked Ava, we like to wait for just a minute. You've got a lot of people in the room. But I'd like to wait just a minute and ask if anybody has anything pressing that they wish to say. For new people in the room, right by your name, somewhere or other around here, there's a place, oh yes, lower, just under all of the names, you'll see that there's a hand, and you can press the hand. If you'll notice by my name in the participants, if you press and raise your hand, that way it goes bong on this end, and I'll know that somebody wants to ask a question, and then when there's a lull, that's it. Thank you. Arak is waving at us. Then we will call on you, and don't despair if it takes a minute or two. I like to let the hosts finish what their thought before calling on you. So I'll wait just a minute. If anybody has anything that is urgent or that they would like to say, if I don't hear something within 15 seconds, I'm going to move along, but I'm going to be quiet if somebody wishes to say something.
Anything that might be happening in your life that's good, that you want to share, or is it an event that you're going to that you want to promote, just anything at all.
Do I really have an opportunity to talk about the art shows that are coming up?
Sure.
That will take far too long. Well, I have a big show coming up at the Old Bakery and Emporium down near the Capitol, right in the middle of South by Southwest. I am so pumped, I cannot tell you.
Do you care to describe to anybody what you make, what you do?
What can we say?
That's difficult, Bob. As you know, I make art involving suspensions of threads in geometric and realistic patterns. Threaduponthreads.com is my website if anybody wants to look.
And the pictures, although good, are nothing compared to the real thing. Wow.
Thank you, my love.
You get 3D.
They have depth to them, and they're all kinds of shadings.
Pull you in.
And all kinds of shadings of threads.
And Arak, what was the website again?
Thread upon threads.
Thread upon.
.com.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
And our new website, kinkmastery.com, is up, and it's our friend Jonathan here in Austin is continuing to build the site. And with that, I will introduce V and Namaste. And V is an RN and also you're a life coach as well?
I'm not.
You're a physical therapist as well?
No, I'm a massage therapist
as well. Well, there was something that went along with it.
And a professor of nursing.
And tell me about that.
I teach at a local college and
teach
nursing.
Okay.
Psych nursing.
And I understand you've been doing this for about 20 years.
Yes, in different aspects, yes. But I am new to being a slave. I am very new to being a slave, 24/7 living. So I'm having an experience for sure.
Namaste, who is International Slave 2010. We have Master Obsidian, who is sitting over there making sure that she says everything exactly according to the book that he has in his hand. He's monitored carefully, along with Senior Jaime, who is slave of V's master. Would you like, I'm not sure what to say about you.
There's so much.
Namaste is a professional counselor. She has a major role in their website, and the website is
powerandsurrender.com.
powerandsurrender.com. And what would one find going on there?
We have a lot of discussions about the creation and sustainability of specifically master and slave relationships, although some of the information can also apply to other forms of power exchange. But our focus and our joy is talking about MS, so we talk about that a lot.
And Master Obsidian and Slave Namaste are the Austin MAST chapter presidents, and we are part of their group in that aspect of our lives. Well, let me turn it over to V, or to Namaste.
Okay.
You're up.
So, well, the first thing I'd like to talk about, if you want to bring up that first slide, is why I'm talking about gratitude when I'm so new to being a slave. And I'm really specifically talking about it, if you want to, you can go to the next slide, because...
You didn't tap me.
I'm sorry, I'll
that is so nice, thank you.
Is the whole slide showing? Do y'all see the whole slide? Because it's the bottom part that's really the most important.
I see down to the 50%.
Okay.
Also, since I have the participants and chat up, that covers a section to the right.
Okay. So for some people, a life of service comes easily, and for some people it doesn't. It's not been easy for me all the time. I have a lot to learn, and some folks out there might have a lot to learn too. And what I found when I started was there's a lot of experts, beautiful, wonderful experts who, like Namaste, my mentor, who live so gracefully on the right side of the slash. Really, you live with such grace. And it was very difficult for me, and still is sometimes, to relate to that, being so new and really being so clumsy with this. And I think that dedicating your life to serving someone can be challenging for some folks. Some days I wake up and I'm naturally in service mode, and some days I wake up and I find it challenging to give 100% of myself to someone else. And on those days, I need to adjust my thinking pattern and tune into the gratitude for all that I have and able to do, including the privilege of serving my master, who's sitting over there. So I'm looking over there, in case you wanted to. So I wanted to show you this learning pyramid, which actually my master was kind enough to share with me. It's also called a cone of learning, and it's attributed to the National Training Laboratory or to educator Edgar Gale, depending on what resource you look at. And there's different versions with different percentages, but I think it's important to note, how much information you absorb according to this cone, depending on how if you're hearing it, reading it, and you can see that, of course, if you do one and teach one, you really get the most from it. So who's benefiting the most from this talk? Well, that would be me. So thank you in advance for helping me develop my gratitude practice, and thank you and Dr. Bob and Jen for having us. So this is really an exercise to help me as much as to share with you who's listening, and thank you for so many people tuning in. I'm really honored. And I ask that, why you should talk about it is, again, because teaching others and using it will help you develop it in your life. And so if you learn something here, make notes. That's why I ask that you have paper and pen ready, and teach someone else. Practice one of the gratitude practices that you'll hear about quite a few, and then teach someone else. And I think you'll find that pretty useful. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. Give Bob's knee a little tap. So the first thing I wanted to kind of talk about is, what is gratitude? And, other countries sort of make fun of Americans, Westerners, to some extent, for how much we say thank you in a very robotic, empty way. So gratitude is really kind of much more than just, thanks and have a nice day. It has to go deeper than that. And I know that you're reading the slides, so So I'll just tell you that through conscious and sustained practice over a period of time, we can discover how gratitude and all of its related qualities, thankfulness, appreciation, compassion, generosity, grace, and other positive states can become integrated and embodied in our lives. When we practice gratitude, the cumulative force that's generated can help create the kind of world we all hope for and desire for ourselves and future generations. So I know that some of you, it looks like, are only tuning in on the phone, so do you think I need to really read each slide for?
No, there's nobody on the phone.
Okay, excellent. Great. So then I'm not going to read the slides. I'm just going to let you read those, and we'll just sort of talk about them, because I don't really want to focus. I just want to get through the foundation of, the basis of what gratitude is and what it can really do for us, and then we'll just get into the meat of our lives. I'm good? Okay. What?
So I anticipate being tapped on the knee?
Yeah, sure. All right, so what exactly does practicing gratitude do for us? I mean, you can see, the list there, but emotions stem from and create meaningful personal encounters. Positive and negative emotions affect those around us, often creating a contagious effect. Positive emotions beget positive emotions. I think you probably all agree with that. Work of Dr. Michael McCullough of the University of Miami and Dr. Robert Clemens of the University of California, Davis. Both are researchers that study the effect of gratitude. So study participants kept a gratitude journal and practiced self-guided exercises. And so what you're seeing are the results of that study, what those professors found gratitude did for their participants.
I'd like to pick up on a point that you said that gratitude will beget gratitude.
Positive emotions beget positive emotions.
And it's actually a little bit bigger than that. It's that you'll attract. So if you have the right, if you have whatever, a positive emotion, then you're going to bring other people who have that. And then you might even be able to change other people. So this is really big.
Now, to what extent do you want us to jump in and make comments, or wait till you get through the slides?
No, you just talk whenever you want.
Okay. And Slave Mikey really represents the experience point of view, and he lives that. And there was the thrust of a major component of the Butchman's line of MS thinking is that gratitude enables, gratitude, if you live in gratitude, it forces you to live in the present. It forces you to come present. And one of the practices that they suggest for that is not thanking your slave. Not saying thank you. So it's not a matter of not thanking your slave, but it's a matter of not using the common word thank you, but instead to come present and say, thank you, slave, thank you, boy, or boy, thank you, slave, thank you. Good boy, good slave. To avoid the trap of just saying thanks.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Let's see. Did I? Yeah, I think I moved forward.
I jumped in.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a hand?
No.
Okay.
That's true.
All right, so what you're seeing here is results from a 1976 survey published in the Journal of Marketing found that customers of a jewelry store who were routinely thanked for coming to the store, and I don't mean just thank you, I mean someone from the store followed up with them, sent them a note, or called them, especially after they left, showed a 70% increase in purchases. Customers who were not called showed no increase. So from that, they found that, expressing gratitude on a very personal level, as you can see, increases productivity and creativity and cooperation and financial well-being as well. Gratitude, generosity, and abundance are often braided together within human nature, and when expressed externally, produced increase for all. So I think that goes back to what you were saying, Jen. Good point. All right, tap on the knee.
It sounds like a hand. That would be a rock.
I just wanted to mention with the thanks or thanks boy or thank you, little girl, that often if you can thank them specifically for something,
Yes.
not just thanks, but thank you, I think the kitchen looks very good today.
It's very well done, Laura. Thank you.
All right, so we're just going to kind of burn through these next slides. So again, more that practicing gratitude can do for us is benefiting our relationships and develops and shapes our interpersonal relationships, plays a crucial role in establishing and maintaining all relationships, and by mutual giving, people become tied to each other by a web of feelings of gratitude. So expressing gratitude to each other, I think, is very powerful when you're, in an intimate relationship. Character development, it also improves your character development, develops our authentic voice and our authentic self, and promotes living with integrity and honesty, promotes spiritual growth, self-trust and faith, and helps look for the goodness in ourselves and others, demonstrating more compassion and generosity. So what I thought was really interesting is I went to a seminar called Developing Positive Emotional Habits presented by Dr. Brian King. And he talked about expressing gratitude as counteracting the hedonic adaptation. And for those of you who don't know what hedonic adaptation is, it's also called the hedonic treadmill, and it's the supposed tendency of humans to quickly return to a relatively stable level of happiness despite major positive or negative events or life changes. So what that means is if you win the lotto, you might be really happy for a short time, but eventually, studies show, you're going to return to whatever your normal state of happiness or misery is, no matter what happens to you.
Master Arak, is that a new hand that you have up, or is that your old hand? Now, I understand that you're...
I'm terribly sorry. That's my old hand. I will go wash it and bring you back, and it'll be all new.
You just call Arak an old hand.
I'm afraid I did, yes. But on the other hand, I like him a lot.
So again, according to this, hedonic adaptation theory, as a person makes more money, expectations and desires rise in tandem, which results in no permanent gain in happiness, and expressing gratitude and savoring can counteract that hedonic adaptation, which I think is really important for us to recognize. It also can be very calming and validate goals and choices and encourages present focus. So I think I'm going to end the slides with talking about some obstacles to gratitude, because so far it seems so easy, but actually it's not. If we talk about the field of positive psychology, Martin Seligman states that when we can approach life from the perspective of seeing what is working without denying our current challenges or burdens, we can cultivate more positive thinking and thankfulness. The realistic thoughts about what is working reminds us of how blessed we are, and this does not deny the obstacles that we face. And the obstacles that I think that we should recognize are, as Ralph Waldo Emerson discussed, envy, greed, pride, and narcissism. And comparison is big. I see a lot of stress actually on FetLife due to comparison. Everybody wants to compare themselves. Who's taking more pain, who's looking more gruesome or more beautiful, or, who's the one who's got the true way. And there's just so much comparison that can really have some negative effects on us when we compare.
Recognizing that these are that gratitude's a good idea, were you going to go on, or would you like to probe into our attendees about how in the world you do this? How do you pull this off?
Well, I wanted to talk about some of the exercises that I asked you and Jen to do, and then I really wanted to ask the attendees about some of the exercises that they do, because I think a lot of people that I see on this list practice gratitude in some way, and I would love to hear, you know, how specifically it's helpful when you struggle, because I mean, that really seems to be my focus, quite honestly. I've had a lot of struggles, and that doesn't mean that I don't want a life of service, because I do. And I loved your guest in December, Master
Andy and Slave Sue.
Andy? Master Andy and Slave Sue. And Slave Sue in particular was so open and honest about her struggles, her temper. She talked about door slamming and screaming and, you know, how she gets through that. And I really appreciated hearing that. And one thing she said that really rang true with me is that, you know, there's something that happens between what happens in her brain and what comes out of her mouth. And that really seems to happen to me too, because in my brain I'm going, yes, I want to serve, and, you know, I value being Senor Jaime's slave, and, you know, this life of service feeds my soul. And out of my mouth comes this lizard brain fear stuff that is very counterproductive. And so I struggle with getting the stuff out of my mouth to be a little bit more in line with what I truly feel and want. So that's what I'm working on. And so I reach out to people to hear, you know, how you deal with struggling too.
Let me make a commercial break and say that 2 weeks from now, Master Andy and Slave Sue are back for part 2.
Awesome. They were awesome. Tune in.
And their topic was how in the world to negotiate the turbulent waters of emotion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they are the Mass Chapter Presidents from Ottawa, Canada.
Yep. I think it's interesting that you say that about emotions, because one of the things that I did when I was preparing for tonight was I began to, I'm a wordsmith, I love words, and so I went and I looked up, because I hear these 3 terms used interchangeably: gratitude, thankfulness, and appreciation. And so I went and looked at the etymology of those words, and they mean 3 very distinct states, or at least they originally did when they were first created, if you will. Gratitude originally meant goodwill. Thankfulness originally meant to be satisfied or content with something. And to appreciate meant to esteem or value highly. Now, when I look at each of those very distinct states, one of the things that comes to mind listening and just kind of tuning in a little bit is that a lot of times when we're talking about gratitude, we talk about it as if it takes place in the mental body. And I don't believe it does. I believe it takes place in the emotional body. It is a feeling. And if we separate it from how we feel, it's a lot more challenging. Because most of us know that, or feel like we should feel gratitude. I'm supposed to feel grateful. I'm supposed to be thankful. Oh my goodness, I feel so much appreciation. I should feel appreciative. And in reality that's all up here. That's all should've. You're shitting all over yourself, okay? And so if you can get out of the intellectualization of gratitude as a practice and begin the actual doing of it, as well as the feeling it in your body, and I can't overemphasize that enough. This past weekend I had the privilege of spending some time with a doctor, and she was talking about how, you know, you're talking about the lizard brain, and she was talking about how the lizard brain, when you're getting information and when you're getting things that would help your life, your lizard brain will actually suck it up because it's all part of your mental. But if you get into your body, you can bypass that. And so I really like to encourage the getting in the body, the physicality, as well as the feeling state of what gratitude, appreciation, and thankfulness, those 3 different states, feel like for you. Like, know what that feels like, because an opinion can never take the place of an experience, you know? So if somebody is saying something about what it should look like, that's never going to take the place of your experience of what it feels like to actually feel thankful, to actually be satisfied and content with what's happening in your life, to actually feel goodwill, to actually feel that gratitude, knowing that and connecting to that viscerally as opposed to just mentally, I believe is a huge component of of being able to use it and practice it, you know, as opposed to it just being an intellectual kind of masturbatory experience of something that should be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm emphasizing the have to actually do stuff. You really can't just feel it. It's just not going to do much for you. But you know, all of those things that I listed actually come from physically practicing gratitude.
Also, in the Jewish tradition, from my sense of it, is that you act as if. So you can get into the act of gratitude by displaying those characteristics and behaviors that an objective observer would say is, oh, that person is showing gratitude, whether or not the person is feeling grateful.
Yeah, I sort of have mixed feelings about that, though, because I thought long and hard about that actually several months ago, and I thought, well, if I just act as if, it'll come. And that didn't really work for me. I found myself acting insincere, and I thought it was more productive to do some gratitude practices. It felt more sincere to actually physically do something sincerely rather than just acting as if. And that's a really valid point, and that might work for some people, and I gave that really serious consideration because, you know, there's a lot of practices, a lot of sobriety practices that use that, but it didn't really work for me, I have to say.
Master gasped before Ursula and Nikita put up their hands. So did Master wish to say something?
I do. So from two people who have a disconnect to their emotions, having some direction on how to recognize what that feeling, what a feeling of gratitude should be. I live a positive mindset, so I don't see that in people, and I see possibilities and everything. To be happy, I say, oh, I'm happy. I don't know that I feel happy. I'm certain that I do, but I don't know that I recognize it. So I just hurt my beef. But if you have any pointers on how to recognize the feeling of the gratitude.
Actually, when I talk to my nursing students about this, I talk about it in a way of recognizing when a patient, I'm sure you have all at some point seen someone who is perhaps unfortunately dying. And maybe you have seen someone who is dying with grace. And it's really an amazing thing to see, just as amazing as someone who lives in grace. And I consider that to be someone who's living in gratitude, even though they may not be saying that or recognizing that, but that sort of grace and appreciation, I believe that is gratitude. That person who is so graceful in the way that they present themselves is displaying gratitude, if that makes sense.
Ursula or Nikita, I'm not sure who is on.
Hi, Dr. Bob. Today, Mikey actually wishes to speak. They're just having a problem raising their hand, so I'll just let them go ahead now.
I'm sorry, Mikey. I'm sorry, brother. You are below my below my visible window. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mikey.
He's unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For this slave, it goes back 24 years ago almost, who went through alcohol rehab, and they have something they call the Big Book, and there was one passage in there that really hit me hard, which is learning to accept life on life's terms. And that was big for me. You know, this passage in there that says nothing happens in God's world by mistake, that to me is faith. And Osho says that prayer is gratitude. Anything other than gratitude is not prayer. because if nothing happens in God's world by mistake, even though we sit and judge things as good or bad, often we look back on times in our life which we thought that was bad at the time, and we find out it was the greatest gift we ever could have got. But perhaps we don't know how to judge very well. And faith for it is giving back those wants and expectations that it lived for and learning how to remain grateful for what is. Whatever is. And sometimes that's a challenge. I'm not 100% there, but I've come a long way over the last 24 years in learning to live in gratitude. And it keeps it in a place where it stays happy and it's not as up and down as it once was. And it all started with this concept that nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Nothing happens in the universe by mistake. There are reasons for it, and sitting there judging that it's wrong or that it's bad is, at this point, a lack of faith.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Can I answer your master's question? So I just wanted to offer that for those of us who spend a lot of time in the mental body where things are processed usually through our mind as opposed to our emotions, one of the things that it's been my observation can work with that is to notice what's top of mind. Like, if we consider the feeling of gratitude to be feeling appreciative or that something has increased in value to us personally, okay, regardless of how valuable it is to other people, or feeling contentment or satisfaction or goodwill about something, if we think that that is gratitude, if we accept that for the moment as being the definition, then when those things are the things that are top of mind in regard to whatever I'm looking at or experiencing, then I can be said to be experiencing gratitude, even whether that is happening up here or here. You know, it's like, am I looking at this person or this experience or this opportunity or this thing, and I'm noticing, you know, looking at my wine glass over there, you know, wow, you know, I really love that wine, and it's delicious, and it's yummy, and the glass that it's in is just crystalline and pure, and it's rimmed in gold, and I'm looking at this, and I'm allowing the value of it to increase to me by virtue of my observation of it, and I'm thinking goodwill towards it or thinking goodwill about it, that it is a good thing for me. And then I'm also in a state of contentment and satisfaction that, yes, this is good. Then I would say, yes, I'm in a state of gratitude at that moment, even if it's happening up here versus here.
Thank you.
Good answer. Thanks. Did you wish to continue? By the way, Ursula or Nikki, did you have something you wanted to say beyond pointing out that Slave Mikey had a question?
Well, I actually have a story as to how I feel gratitude, and it's going to be a little bit different than most people because I have a medical condition, and I could die anytime I have a seizure. I have epilepsy. I'm grateful every single day just to be alive, and it has put a completely different perspective on my life that is unbelievable. I am much more present, I think, than I would have been otherwise. I'm much more aware of each moment as being really beautiful and really precious, and being present because I have to be aware of my condition all the time and how I'm feeling allows me to really feel just how beautiful our lives are and how wonderful we are together in this world. I mean, it's an unbelievable gift. Even though it's a disability, it's given me so much as far as gratitude and just gratefulness. I think it's just been a wonderful gift for me. And I have the most amazing life. I have the most amazing mistress, and I'm just, you know, I couldn't imagine not feeling grateful for those things every moment of every day.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ursula.
Mikey, sorry, Mikey wanted to speak again.
Go ahead, Mikey.
Yeah, it's found that gratitude does keep it in the moment. It is a wonderful way to stay in the moment. And whatever anyone's definition of divine is, in the moment is where the divine is. We're so lucky in this lifestyle to be able to do some of the things that we do that helps us keep us in the moment, and we experience that feeling of the divine. But the divine is not in the future and not in the past. It's only in this moment that we can experience the divine. And gratitude helps keep us in that place.
Very well said. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for that.
Anybody else? Nikita, you still have, or Ursula, you still have your hand up. You're on.
So I wanted to talk about some specific practices. What exactly is a gratitude practice? And there are so many. I mean, it can really take a variety of forms. And so I wanted to talk about some of the things that we do, some things that I do, things that you do.
Do you want me to minimize the screen, the slide?
Let's see. I think that is the last slide, yeah?
I think so too.
Okay. Oh, you know, before we leave the slides, can I borrow your book for just one moment? Here's this one. I wanted to tell you that most of those slides are based on this book, Living in Gratitude. And it's a great book to get right now. You know, I don't have any investment in this book, but it is a year-long journey. It's a book that I've started using with my students, and it has exercises to take you through the year, actually. So, and that's where I've gotten a lot of this information and a lot of the exercises that I do. But one exercise that had an impact on me came from my mentor, and that was to write 10 things that I'm grateful for, specific to being in the MS dynamic. So, and write complete sentences. When I've asked students to do this, of course not in an MS dynamic, when I ask students to do this exercise, very often I get students who write, I am thankful for, and then they put a colon and they just list 10 things. And I think it's really more powerful to write the complete sentence. You know, I am thankful for my master because he, you know, X, Y, Z, and this is what it does for me. And write out 10 sentences like that, or I'm thankful for being a slave because of this, or I'm thankful to have the opportunity to serve, and write the whole sentence. And I asked Dr. Bob and Jen to do that one day. Did y'all have a chance to do that?
I did.
And how did you find that?
6 were easy. 2 more were excruciating, and the last 2 I pretty much gave up.
And that's very common. And the point of doing 10 is that the first 6 on average are pretty easy and superficial. And when you do it every day, because I did it every day for I think about 90 some odd days. It is extremely powerful. I mean, I found that the first couple of days, you know, all the things come off the top of your head, but then you really have to dig deep. And I asked my students to do it for 8 days, and they complain about it so much. I mean, they absolutely, it's like the worst thing in the world. They can't find anything to be grateful for. And then all of a sudden, at the end of it, they love it, and they end up having their spouse or their child continue to do it because they find that it really changes them. So I just asked you to do that one day. And how did you do it?
Yes, I was doing fine until it came to about making amends to somebody in the past.
Oh, no, wait, we're still on the first exercise.
First exercise,
so writing 10 things.
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
However, I will also say that I spend a lot of time thinking about gratitude, and I express a lot of gratitude to Master, who has to put up with me. And being an ASPE requires putting up with a lot. And although I don't manifest a lot in public, my sense is my public impression is I'm a little off, but they're not sure why. But trying to live with Namaste is a little different, and I am extraordinarily grateful to Master for being willing to do that. There's a marvelous book called 22 Things a Woman Has to Know If She Loves a Man with Asperger's Syndrome. And the introduction says, be prepared to be alone a lot.
Well, to go back to the 10 gratitudes, it was easier for me to be thankful for qualities of myself than it was for me to be thankful for things in my life. That was interesting. Okay. I'm thankful that I didn't explode at work today when this thing happened. So
did you keep it specific to the MS Dynamics?
I did. Well, some of them, I did the MS Dynamics for about 3 or 4, and then as I was struggling to find gratitudes, it was going more into, trying to say, well, you did a pretty good job here, pat yourself on the back kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's,
I failed.
You did not fail. It's a great exercise, and I see my friend Sarah is signed on, and Sarah, I'm sorry I'm going to share this, but I asked Sarah to do it, and she struggled also. I have to say everyone that I have asked to do it has really struggled with it, but in the end, I think has had a really powerful experience with it. So, and it's something that I've taught for a while, but didn't hit home to me until my mentor said, I think you should do that yourself and do it this way, specific to your MS dynamic, and then it really meant a lot to me, especially to keep doing it. So, great if you can write 10 things. If you can write 10 things every day for a week, great. If you can do it for a month, fantastic. 3 months, even better. I think your experience will change the more that you do it and the deeper that you dig. Have you found that with other people?
And I've actually changed it because that's what I do. So as I learn more, as I change and shift, I tend to change the practices. And so, going back to the original meaning, and I guess the reason why that's so important to me is because, for those of you who don't know, my master is a shaman, and we're very spiritual people. And so one of our spiritual beliefs is that words hold not only the meaning, they're not only containers for meaning, but they also hold a specific frequency. And so when you understand the meaning, you can kind of really drill down onto the frequency of that term. And so when I started looking at what the words originally meant, it made me shift the practice a little bit. And the statements now are, for this I am grateful for, so same thing, but instead of thankful, or I appreciate these things, and then at the end, once you have all of those 10 things, and because of all of that, I am thankful. Because thankfulness is what comes after the equal sign. It's like, because I have all of these other things, I am satisfied, I am content, as opposed to trying to put the contentment and the satisfaction before the expression and the feeling. It's like I've recognized all these things, I've listed them up, and now I'm satisfied. So that's how I kind of shifted it, and it's made it a bit more potent, I think.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
Nikita?
Slave Mikey again.
Sorry, Nikita? I just love the topic. Love the topic.
Anybody else?
Slave Mikey.
Slave Mikey?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry to keep breaking in there, but it's such a wonderful topic for me, and I appreciate having this today. And our lifestyle is just suited to helping us get to gratitude.
Oh, we got you.
Because of protocol, because of the things that we do for mindfulness and breaking away from the reactive world that surrounds us, it puts us in a place where we have an opportunity to be more grateful and to appreciate every precious moment that we have here on this earth and every precious breath that we have through that mindfulness. And The things that we do, for example, it refers to itself as is to remind itself it's a spiritual being having a human existence and lots of this other stuff. But all of this stuff helps keep it in a place where gratitude becomes a reality. It becomes a way of being as opposed to just something that it does. And that's a gift of all of this mindfulness practice that we have in this lifestyle. And we have an advantage over a lot of people in that way, because it breaks us away from the reactive world that keeps us from thinking in terms of gratitude.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. I got to leave shortly, but again, I want to thank you so much. I got to go to work, but I want to thank you so much for the subject.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking time out and having to get ready before you came on with us. And I understand that you have to go. Thank you again for sharing your time with us.
Namaste.
Let me put a plug in for a program that I found very interesting and I recommend it often. Many of you have heard of the book called The Four Agreements by Ruiz. Well, there's a guy named Gary Van Waterdam who, all of these buzzers, Gary Van Waterdam read The Four Agreements and quit his job. And he'd been in a rough spot at that point and simply found the guy and said, I am yours, do with me as you wish, I serve you. This is a very interesting story. And out of that, he became Ruiz's, he built the training program that Ruiz used for the Four Agreements. And then from that, he evolved something called Pathway to Happiness. And I have, in fact, gone through, I spent my $100, and I've gone through a lot of the Pathway to Happiness, and the first 4 of the exercises are free. So you can try them out and see if you like them. But if you actually do want a soup to nuts 10-step process to personal mastery, there's nothing that I've ever found that I can recommend as highly as Gary Van Waterdam's Pathway to Happiness. I'll leave it at that. It's my plug, and I do not get a commission.
Well, thanks. I'm going to look into that.
It's an astonishing program.
Well,
that and go out and learn everything you can about neuro-linguistic programming.
I'm in it. So one other thing that I do, I mean, there's a few things I do, but another thing that I have started doing as of last year is knitting. And knitting as a gratitude practice, specifically knitting something for someone else and meditating with every stitch on that person and what they mean to me, what I've learned from them, how I appreciate them. My first project was a large wrap for Namaste, which I went through a range of emotions making that, and it was a really amazing experience. And so now I'm working on something for my master, which is difficult only because I'm trying to advance my stitches and patterns. So, but I have found that to be a really great practice also, and again, it's not sitting and knitting and just zoning out on knitting. It's actually meditating with every stitch taken. So I would recommend that too.
And I would ask, so if your focus is the knitting and stay mindful, if you find yourself wandering, do you stop knitting?
I do. I put it down. Yeah, I put it down. I get something to drink. Maybe then that's it for the night. And so sometimes I can knit for 5 minutes. Sometimes I can knit for a couple of hours. But yeah, I really do stay sincere when I'm doing it, and once my mind wanders to something else, I put it down. So sometimes projects take a while. So yeah, but Namaste, you must have a wealth of exercises and.
One of the things I like to do that really helps is I keep an art journal. I have a number of journals. My house is riddled with them. My sister's house is riddled with them. But one of my journals is an art journal, and in it is kept things I'm thankful for, things I feel gratitude and appreciation for, and I write in it every day. I write in it the next day about what I am thankful for about the day before. So these things, in my mind at least, are complete. The day is over, it's done, and I'm looking back on it and saying, yes, you know, I was satisfied with that. Yes, I was content about that. Yes, I felt amazing value in regard to that. And then I just listed and listed and listed because I separate my journal so that it has numerous spaces for each day. And it's just a wonderful way, since I'm writing it in the morning, it's a wonderful way to start my day. So I started with that. I'm already in a space of gratitude, which I think is just like yoga. You know, it's like you always have to take it to the mat, or sometimes you have to take it off of the mat because your yoga practice extends beyond that, but it does need to be a practice. It needs to be something that you're working into your life, like kneading seasoning into bread. And so for me, anything that I consider to be a practice needs to be something that I do all the time. I may not do it at the same exact time every day. I tend to group things by like morning or evening as opposed to a specific hour because I want to allow that flow. But it is a part of my life. So I do, that's one of them. We keep a celebration jar, and that increases gratitude and thankfulness too, where we have a little pad of the little Post-it note strips that you use like to mark pages. And anytime something happens that we love or that made us laugh, it could be small, it could be huge, we write it down and we put it on a jar, put it in a jar on our altar. And at the end of like, oh, we're just having a hard day, we'll just like, let's go look at the celebration jar. And I believe that I was actually talking to someone about this recently, and she was saying, you know, one of the reasons that works is because it puts you back in the frame of mind you were in, because you wrote it when you first had that feeling. It's easier to reconnect with that feeling as opposed to it being too ephemeral, you know, to really hold on to. So your body pretty much already has the muscle memory of what that felt like, and so you can reconnect with it. And so that's helpful.
That's
helpful. That one has been really awesome. And, okay, I'll share one more, and that's dancing. Dancing is a gratitude practice for me. Dancing together, but dancing by myself, too. You know, we're talking about our MS relationship. When I'm dancing and doing it as a gratitude practice, I'm moving my body with the purpose of connecting to that goodwill, connecting to that value, connecting to all of those things that gratitude means. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes we're just sitting trying to think about it. It's not enough. It's too ephemeral to really hold on to. But if you start doing an action, and dancing is an action, it's easier to embody it. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to stand here, turn up the music really loud. I love this song. This is my jam. And I'm going to get up and I'm just going to move, you know, and I'm just going to move and move and move while thinking about feeling good, feeling goodwill, how much I love him, how satisfying it is to live in surrender, how much of a privilege and an honor it is, and allow that energy by my movement to expand in my body. And eventually, not only am I feeling it physically, but I'm also feeling it emotionally. So that's been a really powerful one for me, too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I gave Dr. Bob and Jen some exercises to do. Do you all want to talk about some of them, or how they went, your favorites?
Now, remember, we didn't start this until Sunday.
Okay.
We were back. So we did Sunday and Monday. The second day was difficult.
Which one did you do?
So it just was by day 2, and so it said write something. So write what you're thankful for today. That was okay. Mm-hmm. And in what ways do you express gratitude? How do others know that you are grateful? And I went, 3. And then I went, what family rituals? And I said, I don't have family rituals.
I agree. I did not.
So this was very difficult.
My parents did toward their children. However, my father expressed gratitude towards my mother.
Mm. Okay.
So off camera, I'm going to ask you, did either of your family ever have a blessing or say grace at the table?
No.
No, I
Not
started
mine either,
that with
no.
my family, but no, we were, both of my parents were rebels.
I have a sense that not wanting children is an hereditary trait on my father's line. And it pervades our family. It's interesting. I don't think my father wanted children. I did not want children. I had told my first wife at the point that she rather insisted on the point that I had no idea how it would come out, and that I wanted to know that going in. If she wanted children, this was her deal, and I didn't marry her to have children. I have a cousin who got divorced upon his wife announcing that they're having a child.
Mm-hmm.
So the not children runs pretty deep on our side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem odd that your
It does
father
not at all
would
seem
have
odd.
shown gratitude
No.
to children.
Not at all.
Okay. Okay.
So how do you express gratitude?
I am astonished that anybody will put up with me. We'll start with that. I'm not kidding. And I express that appreciation for Master repeatedly.
Every day.
And every day.
How, just verbally?
Oh, not only that, not only verbally, but just the way I keep the house. I keep this house immaculate for her.
Okay.
And
He takes very good care of me.
yeah, I'm extraordinarily protective of Master.
Okay.
No, I'm astonished at what she can do with me. Nobody's ever been able to manage me before this.
And I can feel the gratitude coming off of you as you're talking about that.
Mm.
That is just, it's beautiful. And as you're looking at him, I see gratitude in your eyes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I recognize and appreciate, I mean, as difficult as he thinks he is to live with, I am equally difficult and very demanding and exacting. And for him to have this grace in his service honors me, and I honor him with my guidance and being the person that he needs so that he can be a whole person.
Yes, yes.
So beautiful.
So maybe more than you wanted to know.
Yeah, we're very good here, but we both are very shut down emotionally, and so when you have to say how do others know you're grateful, we're very good and comfortable with that with each other, but it's been 5 years, you know, having outside people to open up and show gratitude. I hit that question and said, no. They're going to see a very even, emotional person.
Right.
I don't show happiness, I don't show anger, I don't show sadness, I am just neutral. And then I come home and let it out.
That's part of why we don't go anywhere, by the way. We cocoon. We're here with one another. And we have solace in one another, and we tend not to go anywhere. We don't mean to be ignoring anybody, it's that we don't leave.
Yeah. I feel like I see you guys a lot, though. I love it.
That's because we go where you are.
It happens that the passion that you two have is equal to the passion that we have. So we have areas that are in serious commonality.
Right.
But there's nobody, I don't think there's anybody else in the community that sees us as much as you two.
Right. Right.
At all.
I'm
Possibly
honored to
Dan.
hear that. Gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then I got to the letter.
Yes, the letter.
And I said, don't I have to bake cookies? Yeah.
Yeah, the letter is tough, I have to say. This is something that my master, Senor Jaime, has talked about in practice. It's also mentioned in the book. Writing a letter to someone. Now, is this the letter of gratitude? Or? Yeah, okay, so writing a letter of gratitude to someone. Now, I ask my students to do that, and I just ask them to journal it. And I tell them that they would have a more powerful experience if they would actually read it to the person. I've only had one student in the past like, I think 3 semesters that I've done this, actually read it to someone. It does make it a much more powerful experience if you can, write a letter of gratitude and then actually read it to someone. I'm so honored that my master has done that with me. I did that with a student, and we were both crying by the end of it. But it's really a beautiful experience. I love that one. So write a letter of gratitude, and then if you are comfortable just journaling it, then great. I think that's also a great experience. If you can actually read it to the person, it's very powerful. So give that a try too.
I've had this happen 2 other times in my world. One was at a work conference, and they said, write a thank you to your doctor. And, well, that was pretty easy. I made a little card, and I gave it to the doctor, and it wasn't a problem. I had no emotional connection with this man. I had no problem doing that. The next time it happened was Monsignor said one Holy Thursday, so right before Easter, to thank your spouse for something. And it actually took me almost a day to be able to do that, and my husband never did it. So I think that when you have an emotional component, at least for me, it's more exposing to show gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, that's true.
Let me also point out that Ursula also commented that she usually embroiders something or beads something, and that it's very effective.
Yeah, for someone in particular, or just the act of doing it?
Yes,
she said yes, for someone in particular. That's beautiful. That's
go ahead. Go ahead.
It's always a gift for someone. We had some friends. One is Buddhist and one is pagan, and I made them velvet bags embroidered specifically with symbols that were conducive to that faith, and it was a wonderful exercise to think about them and to focus on them the whole time I was doing it. It was very meditative, and it made the gift for me extremely powerful. And it's almost like giving away a part of yourself, and it's a really wonderful exercise. I actually had another comment on those letters of gratitude, and something that I did in an intensive workshop with Master Skip. I actually wrote a letter of gratitude to an abusive father. And I probably will never read it to him because I actually don't even talk to him anymore. But there are a lot of things that I was really grateful for, because he's a really good dad in a lot of ways, and he taught me a lot of really neat things. So it's actually a great way for a healing experience as well. At least it can be. The way I did it was, anyway. So just one more thing on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as a recipient of 2 of Nikita's gifts of handmade velour toy bags or bags for anything that we have around a lot, and we use them when we pack and we take trips. And it was just stunning that she made these for us, and we treasure them very greatly, and we use them, in fact, to transport our toys, because that we have her with us.
Nice.
Thank you again so much for having done that, Nikita. Ursula, sorry. Yes, Ursula.
Anything else about the exercise?
That's as far as we got, because it was only day 2.
Okay.
So day 3 says to write an apology. I probably wouldn't have trouble with that.
Okay. And read it, or?
I don't know if I could read it. but I think I could write it. So now, why is that? Why is it easier to write an apology than it is a gratitude?
Well, you know, I think it's more powerful either way if you're actually saying it, presenting it to someone face to face. I'm not sure why that's your experience. I don't know. It's not easy for me to write apologies.
I wonder if it's easier to think of myself as doing wrong than doing right.
I think that's exactly what it is. That's been my observation, is that when I have clients who can connect more easily with being apologetic for something than they can with feeling good about something, or specifically with feeling gratitude about something, it's because that pathway is a little more used. So it's like, you know, the route that you always take is a lot easier to take than the one that you very rarely take. You know, it's kind of like, how do I navigate that, you know? The one thing, and I do believe that it is positive too, and beneficial to actually say it and read it. The only thing I would caution a little bit about that is that you're not performing through the letter. It's more important that it be authentic and vulnerable. And so if you have to choose between, am I going to read this, and so let me take that out, let me take that out, let me take that out, or am I going to stay with the authenticity and vulnerability, it's more important to feel what you're feeling and be very open and honest with what you're feeling, at least with yourself, you know, than it is to kind of whitewash it and sugarcoat it a little bit because you know you have to give it to somebody else, you know, and that's the only caution I have with that. But if you can do both from that place of raw authenticity, even if your voice is shaking, that's even better.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for me to write apologies and probably express them with any kind of grace because of all the emotion that it brings up. I kind of get stuck in the shame or embarrassment that I'm feeling, and so it's sort of like a skipping record there. So I guess I start wallowing in it, and it almost stops me from getting the actual apology out, which, you know, now that I'm saying it, is pretty counterproductive because then it just stays in and it's like a loop.
You know, one of the things that when I was thinking about it and kind of doing some research about what are the, when you're talking about the obstacles to gratitude, one of the things that showed up that I was kind of fascinated by was the idea of privilege and entitlement being an obstacle.
And I put pride up there.
Yeah, you know, and it's not that, I'm not one of those people who demonize privilege and entitlement because I think that I'm saying that, like when somebody says, you know, thank you, I say you're welcome, but frequently I will follow that with, it is my honor and privilege to do whatever I've done. So feeling a sense of privilege, like, can be a good thing, but it's unconscious privilege and unconscious entitlement. Like, I just ought to, you know, I just ought to have this, or this just ought to occur, or, you know, there's no other reason than because I exist, and I don't have to be conscious of it. I don't have to be aware of it. I don't have to sink into the fact that I don't have to have this. You know, it can be taken from me. And I think, you know, talking about first world problems, because we live in a first world, it's so easy for us to all, you know, people are talking about privilege, and it's always somebody else's privilege and entitlement, but I really believe that it's something that if you live in a first world country, you have the opportunity for privilege. All of us do, you know, and so recognizing where those things lie and not demonizing yourself, not judging yourself, but just being in awareness and saying, wow, I have a lot of privilege in this area, which means I have an amazing capacity for gratitude as well.
You just triggered an idea, and I will cite you. And it will go in, I'm finishing of the 4 books that we've come out with 3 of the 4 books, but the 4th book is an advanced MS book, and you've just given me a very interesting idea. So you're familiar with unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, unconscious competence, and conscious competence. You can do the same thing with gratitude.
Yes. Yes.
I'll develop a section around it, and I will credit you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's very, very interesting. Well
Wow. Yeah, I look forward to reading it.
That's why we put on these seminars.
Yeah.
I learn a lot.
And Spicy has offered something she does.
Okay, so let's see. Spicy says, I've maintained a gratitude journal for 14 months now. I choose a moment in my day in which I felt gratitude for a moment and experience a moment of clarity or joy, etc. Then I connect it to how it impacted my life. The connection to the feeling allows me to integrate my gratitude within myself. Journaling my moments of gratitude allows me to focus on that feeling each and every day rather than focusing on any negativity. That's fabulous.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Master Arak, you have a hand up?
Yes, it's 11 after 9, and I fear that you're going to close before I got this in. Knowing that the three of you sitting there are on the right side of the slash, I want to make a particular point that gratitude has no side of the slash. I am grateful every day for not only the gifts that have come to me through my moving here to Austin, but for my puppy bear, who is my partner, for those who don't know, for the opportunities to do the art that I do, the number of places where I feel grateful are innumerable, but I think the point is, just as in the Bushman's experience, they talk about service, and that service is not on one side of the slash or the other. It may be aimed or pointed at different directions, but nevertheless, a master, to be a master, should serve as well. A master should be grateful as well. Maybe it's egotistical for me to say, if not more so, but nevertheless, I think it's important that this is not thought of as exercises or directions exclusively for the submissive.
No, it's only presented in this way because we're talking about it and we're on the right side of the slash. So really, it just, I sort of wanted to talk about it from my specific perspective, and because I struggle with it, that's sort of the root of this. But no, I in no way intended it for it to be heavy on either side. I hope that this benefits everyone, and I really appreciate that you tuned in for it. But selfishly, it started with just me wanting to talk about my experience, because I've really been struggling, and this has helped me get through really tough moments, days or weeks, and I just thought maybe there would be some other folks on the right side of the slash who struggle also.
It's interesting, Master Arak, that you would say that, because I have really struggled with receiving appreciation and gratitude from my master. That's been the most of my struggle has been, is that I have no problem with expressing it, but when he would say, thank you, or express like in the verbose in expressing gratitude towards me for something, I kind of felt like, okay. Let's not talk about it anymore. And I really had to expand in that area, and one of the ways that, and it's actually one of my practices that I do a lot with women who aren't in the community at all, but one of the things that I found that really helped me was just taking a moment, and when he was saying thank you or expressing gratitude or appreciation, just looking at him while he's saying it to me and just being still and allowing it to penetrate through his gaze. allowing it to really just land. And if I felt uncomfortable, which the first few times I did, which is why I'm sharing this, because I know from talking about this that I'm not the only slave who gets kind of like awkward turtle when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I would just look and just hold that eye, you know, and just allow it to land. And if I got misty, that was okay. And if I felt awkward, it'll pass. It's just a moment in time. But it really helped me to begin to be able to really receive it in, because what I realized was that by making light of it, I was just honoring what he was offering to me, you know, and I really needed to allow myself to receive that gift just like any other gift that he gives me. And so, you know, that's been my struggle and my journey with that. So thank you for bringing that up, because I wouldn't have even remembered it if you had not brought up masters expressing gratitude, that it's equally important for us to know how to graciously receive that expression, because sometimes that can be
awkward. Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
And also from the master side, we were with Raven and Joshua, and they pointed out that when I've had enough adoration, I just dismiss him. And so they said, okay, he's going to lie at your feet. And they put a time limit on it. And it was something like forever, like 20 minutes. It was something like forever. And they wanted me to learn to be comfortable with that.
I remember that.
And it was very powerful. And it was very necessary, because I couldn't dismiss him. I had to accept.
Thank you, Nestor. You're edging up on 9:20. This is going longer than they normally go. Do you have anything that you'd like to use as a wrap up here, or do you want to keep going? What do you want to do? Ava keeps telling us go as long as you wish, and I keep saying, well, you got people that have been on here a while.
Yeah. I'm good. I mean, if anybody has any questions or
that would be very good.
Anything like that, we'd be
There's a nice comment from Spicy saying that finding gratitude in the experience process with any shame or frustration in the moment. That's true.
That's really powerful. I mean, that's what has gotten me through times when I felt embarrassed. If my master, especially in the early days of our relationship, if he had to correct me in public, or we were going through something and we were in a public situation and I would feel myself getting embarrassed, which will always make it worse. It will always make the experience worse if you sink into the fact that I'm so embarrassed, but then you act worse. But what I learned to do is to think about how grateful I was for the opportunity to experience his mastery over me in that moment. And that was shifted immediately. It was like, that is more important than the fact that in other words, yes, I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to be embarrassed, because if he didn't own me, that would never occur.
He would not care.
Right. And so it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, my face is hot, and he's talking about the fact that, oh, your face is hot. Look at how red your face is. And I'm like, it takes a lot for you to be this color brown and have a red face. but, you know, I'm just like, yeah, and let me just focus on the fact that I'm his slave, and he's my master, and this is the very essence of it right here, you know, and that would increase the gratitude, and that would make it a little easier to deal with the situation. It wouldn't make the embarrassment go away, but it would make it something that I could accept and eventually learn to appreciate.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, there's another exercise that I give my students, and that is to think of a really unexpected occurrence, you know, maybe a theft or a job loss or a death, and to really focus on the blessings that came from it, which everyone is a little shocked at, you know, to begin with. They're like, oh, gosh, that was so awful. How can I possibly think of a blessing? But they do. I try to do that too. I mean, I very, very recently had a difficult experience, and I will try to find the blessings in that. So maybe not immediately, but at some point it's good to look back on unexpected things and find the blessing
Should we wrap it up?
I'm good.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Open for questions.
Oh, well, the floor is open. If we hear nothing within about 15 seconds, however, the floor will suddenly run off, be closed, won't be any floor anymore.
All right, what's next time?
Next, as we said, a couple of weeks from now, we have Master Andy and Slave Sue picking up second Tuesday in February, 10th, I believe, picking up on the discussion of managing, negotiating, and managing emotionally challenging conversations. And there are a couple of books that go along with this, should you be interested. And it's called How to Have Difficult Conversations and How to Have Difficult Confrontations.
Oh, Crucial Conversations and Crucial Conversations.
People.
Yeah, those are excellent books.
Yeah, I have those.
Excellent books.
I went to that seminar. It was great.
I've not attended the seminar, but boy, I've got the books.
And we will hint that we are going to be at Winter Wickedness first weekend in February. So if anybody here will be there, we look forward to saying hi.
We're Fetish Fair Flea Market the second weekend.
That'll be after the next one. Yeah.
After the next, right.
Yeah. So.
And then we'll see many of you in the City at the last weekend in February. And that's it. That's a wrap.
And you mentioned Raven and Joshua will be in Austin at the Whatnot. So for those of you who are here local, please stay tuned for that right after South Plains, like that Monday and Tuesday afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
They'll be there, so please come for that.
Right. We have been discussing that with them, and they're also evidently MASH. And that falls on a third Tuesday, unfortunately. So we'd asked if he could come on, and we said, well, we're dark that night, so we're going to take you to dinner. That's the booby prize. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you so much, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Ava, once again, thank you very much for staying up and managing the conference for us, and for putting this on, and for recording them.
And we'll thank Namaste.
And we'll thank Namaste, and we'll thank V. Yes, thank you very much, Ms. V, and Namaste. And for Master Obsidian and for Senior Jaime for allowing them to come tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much, and good night, everybody. And I'm going to take a minute to come out of this because I want to capture the chat, and that takes me